Hello and welcome back to my channel. For this video I am using various Lawn Fawn products. The first things I'll be using are the So Smooth stamp set, Some Bunny, Baked with Love, A Creature Was Stirring, Den Sweet Den, Sweet Friends, and Happy Easter. Most of my images have been stamped in black ink, as you can see here, but I will also be stamping one in jellyfish ink. And the reason I am doing this is because I want to turn this flan into a carrot cake. The shape's slightly off, but it was the closest thing I had to an actual cake. So I'm also going to stamp a carrot on top. I'm going to tell you right now, I could have avoided this and just used one of the carrots that I had previously stamped and cut out and just pasted it on the top. Anyway, here I am tracing my lines with a thin fine liner. This is Copic Safe, and I'm leaving a little slice cut out, and this is because there is a little slice of cake in one of the sets that I wanted to use as well. The silly thing is, oh, here I'm adding a crack to my egg. Here's my carrot colors. But yeah, as you can see, my cake that I made versus the cake slice. The cake that I made is way bigger. Like, the layers are much thicker, so I probably should have cut my cake down just a little. But I didn't, and they're not right next to each other, so hopefully it looks fine. Alright, I'm gonna stop talking until there is some part that I really feel like I need to tell you about. I have been sick for the better part of this year, honestly. And right now I am getting over the last bit of being sick with COVID, and I am having lots of trouble breathing. So I'm just gonna stop talking, and you guys can watch me color. I guess I should pop in and mention that when I'm doing my little spices, I am not taking them all the way to the very lines of the stamped image. And the reason that I'm doing this is because I want it to look like there's a thick glass container around the spices. Another thing to note is that for some of these color combinations, when I don't show you the color combination, it's because it's a combination I used previously. Like for this one, it's the E90s. For my little recipe book, I am using yellow green and blue green, and I am making a little color gradient. And this is really easy. You just kind of go back over where the colors join, and as long as they're not too crazy different from each other, they don't do too bad. Alright, and there I wrote recipes really tiny on my recipe book, and now I'm taking the same pen and I am writing parts of different spice names. So I have CINN for cinnamon, and then I put INGE for ginger, and then NUTME for nutmeg. This is just because I could not fit the whole word on such a tiny little container. Also here, when I'm coloring the milk, it took everything in me not to color it either a darker blue or a red. I didn't want to incorporate any additional colors, which is why I just used the blue-green color, and then on the flower, I used the yellow-green. But really, I really wanted to pull in some other colors, but I didn't want to muddy the scene too much, so I just pulled colors I already used. Now I'm going to use my plaid stencil from Fawn. Well, stencils, it's 2 of them. I absolutely love this stencil set, and I haven't really used it a whole bunch. I am going to use Distress Oxide's Squeezed Lemonade and Twisted Citron, and I'm just going to ink blend first this wide striped stencil all the way across and flip it diagonally, and then do the same thing. And then I'm going to use the thin line stencil, and I'm going to ink that up in the green. Now I will say it's a little bit of a challenge, only slightly, to line up the stencils. Like, not the first stencil and second stencil, but like when you're doing a longer panel than just one stencil frame. So like on this one, it took me a minute to figure out how to line them up because they're not all spaced out exactly the same. So you kind of gotta work that out a little bit. And for this, I tried not to blend too heavily at the very end of the stencil where I was going to join more ink blending, if that makes any sense. Like, I didn't want it to have a really dark spot where the lines met, where I had ink blended the stencil in 2 or more parts. Now that that's done, I'm just going to take this slimline die and I'm going to cut out my panel. And then I also have a white panel cut out, same size, and I'm using my carved pumpkin Distress Oxide to splatter this panel. This will be my countertop. So I did have to cut it down quite a bit. I think I did 1 1/4 inch. It's fairly narrow. And now I'm taking my X-Acto knife and I am making slices in all the bowls so that I can tuck things in them. And this bunny, because it's hopping, I thought it would be cute if it was like in the frosting bowl. So, yep, that's what that one is. It's probably like the child version of the bunnies. But who am I kidding? There's plenty of adults that would be eating frosting too. And I'm just going to assemble my pieces together. And I had laid out my parts to my card so many times and they kept changing. They just did. And like here, I laid them out again and I thought I'll just try to glue, pieces down individually without moving a bunch of stuff, and it still kind of got shifted. So my final card's still slightly different than my original idea. Once all my pieces are glued down, I am going to slice off anything that's hanging over the edges, and I'm just taking my white gel pen and I'm making tiny little highlights on the containers. I did think about adding some clear Nuvo drops, but I had waited until after I had put the words up there and I didn't want them to smear or get distorted in any way. Alright, now here I have Nuvo drops in the color Buttermilk, and I'm just making it look kind of like frosting is dripping off of the edge of the bowl, out of the bowl a little bit. And for my batter, I'm using the color Peachy Keen, and I'm just putting it in this little yellow bowl that has the whisk in it. Which, I should also note that I did color over the whisk with that same yellow as the bowl so that it didn't look white and weird in the inside of a yellow bowl. Now I'm just adhering this frame down. This is from the scalloped slimline with hearts from Fawn, and this is just the outer edge. And now I'm going to put foam tape. Oh, yep, here's my Big Mama foam tape roll. I finally used one of them and had to get another one. So I'm just going to pop my panel up on this foam tape. I made sure to keep it inside of the frame that I had cut. Before I started this card, I really wasn't sure what sentiment I was going to go with. I know I could do something Easter themed. Oh, I'm also going to glue this tiny little bunny and carrot on the inside because I had one left over. But for my sentiment, I decided to go with You Take the Carrot Cake. And this came from, I believe, the Some Bunny stamp set. I figured if I was going to make an Easter card, it would be about what Easter's really supposed to be about, which is the resurrection of Jesus. Because, I mean, really, that's the most important holiday. Anyway, I'm just going to glue this flat down onto my card. I used Avriel's label banner dies to cut it out. And then after that, my card is complete. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll be back with another video soon. Bye!